That's what I do. I drink and I know things. I drink bulletproof coffee and I know things about real estate and the Fourth Industrial Revolution. And in today's video, I'm going to compare the Game of Thrones to real estate and the Fourth Industrial Revolution. So let's get started. Hello, my name is Tanya Byrd and I'm with Keller Williams Realty, Atlanta Partners in Peachtree City, Georgia. I am also one of the Tech Roadshow trainers for Keller Williams Southeast region. Huge Game of Thrones fan, and yes, I'm a geek. So with all that being said, in today's video, I'm going to compare how the Fourth Industrial Revolution and real estate industry compares to the Game of Thrones. Let me start off by saying that the Game of Thrones is not for everyone. If you are not into fictional fantasy, you're not into the dragons, into zombies and magic and things like that, or you're not into the R-rated movies, like the kind of content that's in R-rated movies, then don't let me be the one that made you go seek out the Game of Thrones. This video is not going to have any R-rated content in it. And for those of you who aren't familiar with the Game of Thrones or need a little refresher, I'm going to give a brief summary and then get into comparing it to the real estate industry. So for those of you who aren't aware about the Game of Thrones, you are like Jon Snow. You know nothing, Jon Snow, as Ygritte says in the series. So we start off in the medieval period where we have House Baratheon and House Lannister. They are joined by marriage and they are ruling over the Seven Kingdoms and the Iron Throne. Now, depending on how far you are in the story, kind of depends on who's ruling from this house. But all you really need to know is how they got there was they overthrew the previous king who came from the House of Targaryen. He was considered mad, so they overthrew him and his daughters in exile. So there's some people in the Seven Kingdoms who do not believe that this house should be the ones who are ruling. They believe that there has some illegitimate heirs on the throne and they shouldn't be ruling, and they want to overthrow who's on the throne right now. And you have Daenerys, who's in exile. She's trying to come over and take back what she thinks is hers as well. So all these people are fighting over who's going to rule the Iron Throne. You do have this one house in the Seven Kingdoms, this is House Stark, and they see that there is a bigger threat to all of this. The bigger threat exists on the other side of this huge ice wall, where these beings called the Others and their White Walkers are trying to get over the wall so that they can come down and wipe out humanity. And that is what the real threat is. In House Stark, they're trying to get everybody on board. They're trying to say, hey, here's where the real threat is. And some people are ignoring them. And as the story goes along, they're convincing others to join them. But they are prepping to take on this big fight, which is to go off and fight the Others and save humanity. So that's kind of the basic storyline of the Game of Thrones. Now I'm going to compare this to real estate and the Fourth Industrial Revolution. As I compare the Game of Thrones to the real estate industry and all of the cool tech that's coming out, please note that this is 100% meant to be tongue-in-cheek and for fun. And as George R.R. Martin says, there's no one who is 100% good and there is no one who is 100% bad. So with that being said, let me start out with who's fighting over the real estate throne. So we have these brokerages and they're fighting over who's number one in agent count, who's number one in sales volume, who sold the most houses last year. And look at me, I'm king of the real estate throne. And they're very similar in their squabbling and in their competition of who's better. That they're like the people in Westeros who are fighting over the Iron Throne. They're not focused on what the real threat is. And the real threat is these venture capitalist companies and these companies that are traded on the stock market. Now, don't get me wrong here. I am 100% a fan of capitalism. But you do have to understand that when you're dealing with a company that's traded on the stock market or backed by venture capitalists, their number one goal is to be profitable to those investors. And sometimes they will do anything that they can to be profitable to those investors. So you're seeing some of these companies say, well, we don't even need to involve a real estate agent. What's their worth? And then we have these other companies that say, well, the real estate agent's somewhat worthy. However, we don't want them to be the driving force. And these companies you'll start seeing where they're dipping more and more of their fingers into the real estate pie. Because, quite frankly, selling leads is no longer profitable. And so they're starting to get their broker's license. They're starting to buy mortgage companies and get insurance companies because their ultimate goal is to have the consumer in the palms of their hands. If they have the consumer in the palm of their hands, then they dictate where the consumer goes. They say to the consumer, here's your agent, here's your mortgage company, here's your insurance company. And this is where I think is not a really good thing for the consumer because the consumer could be treated like a number because they're a huge corporation and who they recommend might not be in the consumer's best interest. This is why I think that real estate agent needs to be in the driver's seat on this. They deal day in and day out with all the vendors in the local area and they know which lawyers or title companies or mortgage companies can get that deal to the closing table and get that consumer onto whatever their goals are. So I'm going to compare these venture capitalist companies and these companies that are traded on the stock market. I'm going to compare them to the great others. And they're the ones who are trying to come in and disrupt the real estate industry and wipe some of the agents right out, just like the great others are trying to get over the wall to wipe out humanity. There is one real estate company out there who saw that winter is coming and they saw the threat from other companies that were wanting to come in and disrupt the real estate market. They wanted to come in and change the way real estate is done. And this company started investing in tech quite a few years ago because the owner of this company saw the threat and wanted to protect his agents. This company is Keller Williams. And Keller Williams, I'm going to compare them to House Stark. They see the threat of the others. They see the threat to the livelihood. And they, like House Stark, are gathering up tools that they can put in agents' hands in order to fight this battle. So, House Stark is gathering up dragon glass and making sure they have enough Valyrian steel daggers and swords so they can go fight the great others. Well, Keller Williams is taking big data and artificial intelligence and they're putting this stuff in the agent's hands so that they can then have insights and be able to leverage some of their business through technology. And some of those tasks that agents have to do, like making flyers, the technology can do it for them, which means they get to stay customer facing. They get to stay in front of their clients more. And who doesn't want that? That benefits the agent and the client. When you think about it, artificial intelligence is already in our lives. I don't know anybody who hasn't tried to use Siri or Alexa or Google. They will ask those artificial intelligence to look things up for them online or to play music, or heck, I ask Siri sometimes to set a timer for when I'm cooking. I use Waze, so Waze tells you how to get from point A to point B, and that comes from all the users using that information so you know how fast you're going to get to your destination. And like Netflix and Amazon, Netflix tells you which TV show to watch next, and Amazon says, hey, you need these dog biscuits because you just bought dog food. And most consumers like you and I are already used to using these kind of platforms. So that's where Keller Williams Artificial Intelligence is really going to be able to help the consumer on real estate. They're going to be able to help them through their search, through their contract to close phase, all the way to ownership, to where their app is telling them, well, hey, your interest rate's really low. Now's the time to refinance. Or, hey, it's time to change out those filters in your HVAC system, because whoever remembers to do that? Not me. So that's how that's really going to help the consumer and win the consumer's heart. That's what the goal is, to win the consumer's heart and to keep the agent in the driver's seat, front and center. So as a consumer, why should you really care? I mean, why do you care whether or not your agent has technology backing them up or can give you insights? I mean, you can go on Google if you have a question and you're just trying to buy and sell a house. So why do you care? Well, as a consumer, yes, you can go on Google and find your answers, but as much technology as that we have out there, it's never going to have empathy for your particular situation. It's never going to be able to help you navigate through the many moving parts that's in a real estate transaction. And even if everything's going smooth and all of a sudden something goes sideways, it's never going to be able to help you navigate through that and find a solution to keep the deal together. Also, it's never going to be able to help you sell your house right now. Like, you need to have it sold right now because you needed to be where you needed to be yesterday and get the most amount for your money. And that's where you really need an agent to help you say, here's option A, here's option B, here's option C, and help you decide what's the best option for you. So as an agent, why do I care? I mean, am I going to need all that technology? My real estate business is running fine right now. Is the industry really going to change that much? Well, I guess we can watch and see how it plays out over the next couple of years. What I do know is that I'm glad I'm with Keller Williams. I'm glad I'm with Keller Williams because they can see these trends coming up on the horizon, and they were the first to actually put money towards the tech and do something about it. And that benefits me because it puts the tools in my hand so that as an individual agent, I can compete against these major corporations. I mean, if I didn't have Keller Williams, then I wouldn't be able to do this alone at all. There's not enough money or leverage for me as an individual to fight against these companies. As our leader, Gary Keller, I know that he's very passionate about the agent. He has our backs. I see it every time he speaks about this, that he wants to keep the agent front and center no matter what. And he is really a visionary. He's the first person to come up with the idea of profit sharing back with his agents. When the market centers make profit, he was the first to say, hey, we can actually develop teams in this team concept and have agents build empires under the Keller Williams umbrella. He is the first to say not only can we build teams, but we can expand into other markets. So there's the expansion concept. And so he's also the first to really dive deep into this technology and embrace it. So I'm glad I'm with somebody who has my back as an agent and isn't just looking out for number one. He really cares for the agent. So if you're an agent and you want to learn more about all this tech, reach out to me. I'd be glad to help you out on that. I'll also leave links down below on a website that Keller Williams has developed so you can learn more about the tech. If you're a consumer and you're looking for a fabulous tech-enabled agent either in Atlanta or in your neck of the woods, be sure to reach out to me because I can help. And finally, if you like this kind of content and you want to get more of it, please subscribe, give me a thumbs up, click that bell notification, leave me a comment down below. That would really help me out. And as Gary Keller would say, onward. And as Daenerys Targaryen would say, Jakaris. See you next time. Bye.